Saluton! En tiu libro mi priparolas mian sperton je la landa congreso en Bostono en 2003, jam antau 7 jaroj. Mi priparolas kiel mi nur lernis Esperanton dum kelkaj semajnoj, kaj kvankam mi povis kompreni preskaŭ ĉion ĉe la kongreso, mi malfacili parolis la lingvon. Mi bedaŭras informi vin, ke tiu situacio ne estas ŝanĝita. Kaj mi konfesas, ke mi kunmetis ĉi tion kun la helpo de traduku.net. Do, mi liveros mia prelego en la angla lingvo, sed kvankam mi kredas, ke estas probabla, ke ĉiu ĉi tie povos kompreni la angla, mi ne volis supozi tion. Kiam mi vojaĝas alian landon, mi neniam supozi, ke homoj parolas la angla. Mi lernis pri miaj esploroj, ke Esperantujo ja estas alia lando. Mi faras ĉi tiu enkonduketon en Esperanto kiel gesto de sincereco, kaj por montri, ke mi ne estas usononaĉo. Tamen mi ja estas krokodilo, pardonu. I have another I have another excuse to give this talk in English, which is so that I can read this long quote from an article that appeared in the Washington Post on August 15th, 1910, the opening day of the 6th Universal Esperanto Congress, which, as you know, was held in Washington, D.C. The reporter states, "Esperanto gives the impression of Portuguese set in an Italian printing office by a Spanish printer while alcoholically trying to hum French ditties." Before the result went to press, an Englishman and a German seem to have dabbled with it, to say nothing of several other personages of mixed breeds. Yet the result on the whole is perfectly comprehensible and possesses a scientific adherence to rule that outdistances any natural language 1,000 miles. I think this quote captures the general tone of the press coverage of Esperanto during the Congress. A little teasing, some gentle ribbing, but not unfriendly or overly mean. What's remarkable here, though, is not the tone of the Esperanto coverage, but the amount of it, and in prominent places, too. The Post published the program of events each day, interviewed delegates, and reported on some of the speeches. The Congress even made the sports page, after a contingent of participants attended an excursion to a Washington-Cleveland baseball game. "That Esperanto stuff may be excellent in its place," noted the reporter, "but it will not do for baseball rooters. There was a delegation of the Esperanto propagandists present, but either its members did not understand the game or could not demonstrate the fact in the universal language." Now, I picture quiet, mild-mannered, bespectacled Zamenhof, along with the rest of the international group who signed up for this excursio, vainly trying to follow the action on the field, much less make sense of the raucous hubbub in the stands. It seems a bit unfair to blame Esperanto for the bewilderment that pretty much any European feels at an American baseball game. But hey, still, a mention of Esperanto in the sports page of a major American newspaper. And it doesn't even include an explanation of what Esperanto is. It didn't have to. It was the height of the second golden era of invented languages, the Esperanto era. The history of invented languages is a long one. The first section of my book is titled 900 Languages, 900 Years, but those numbers are no doubt way too low. Though the lingua ignota of Hildegard of Bingen dates to almost 900 years ago, it is only the first language we have documents for. I would guess that the practice of fiddling with language and trying to come up with a better one began when man realized that he was using a language. I would also guess that the event which followed immediately after that realization was man's first complaint about how language worked. Though the stream of new language projects has been relatively steady for a few hundred years, the number and type of projects have varied with the times. From the earliest days of my research into this history, I could see the activity in language inventing coalescing around three major eras. To keep it short and simple, we can just name them by their most successful specimen. So we've got the Wilkins era, the Esperanto era, and the Klingon era. In the late 1600s, John Wilkins, one of the founders of the Royal Society, Britain's Academy of Science, created a language in which words perfectly represented concepts. He created a sort of map of the universe, a giant tree-like hierarchy in which every concept could be defined by a genus-species difference type reference to this hierarchy. The sounds in the word would tell you exactly where in this categorization scheme the word fell. So the word for dog, for example, zita, the Z tells you it's in the category beasts, the T tells you it's the subcategory of oblong-headed beasts, and the tells you it's the kind of oblong-headed beast noted for being friendly, as opposed to, say, fox, the one noted for being crafty. Now, lots of people at this time, riled up and excited by the scientific revolution, were trying to do something similar. They were looking for a language that worked like mathematical notation. It would expose the truths of the universe, and it would be universal. But no one took the idea as far as Wilkins did when he made this giant 600-page category breakdown of everything in the world. Actually, he did it twice, because as soon as he finished and sent it to the printer's shop, the Great Fire of London swept through town and destroyed it. So he had to do it all over again. At the time, this project was widely respected and widely read, but no one ever really used it. It was just too hard to use. After Wilkins' death, enthusiasm for this sort of thing waned. Wilkins had taken the philosophical language idea as far as it could go. Of course, new projects continued to pop up here and there, but nobody had any patience for those, and the whole endeavor suffered open mocking in works like Gulliver's Travels. The first golden age was over, and the next one wouldn't start for another 200 years. The Esperanto era started with a new kind of approach, where the aim was not the perfect mathematical representation of concepts, but an easily learned, easily used sort of natural language hybrid. The lofty goal of exposing the mysterious truths of the universe was set aside for the more practical goal of providing a way for people of different nations to communicate with each other. There were many incarnations of this idea between 1860 and 1920, hundreds in fact, but Esperanto emerged as the most successful. It attracted the most speakers. This was due to a combination of factors, including luck, timing, and a focus on creating a community for the language rather than on the details of the language itself. In 1910, after enough momentum had been created, but before the war and the explosive rise of English tempered that momentum, Esperanto enjoyed a fair bit of attention from the general public. Over the rest of the century, Esperanto continued along steadily, and language inventors kept coming up with new projects, many of them based on old ideas. But the nature of public attention paid to these projects changed. For one, a certain amount of invented language fatigue set in. Languages, more languages, reforms of languages. As one newspaper editorial put it, referring to the biblical story of the confusion of tongues, the invented languages were starting to out-babble Babel. Also, Esperanto had begun to solidify a relationship with causes that were, let's say, outside the mainstream. This happy, motley band of anarchists, theosophists, nudists, and vegetarians helped Esperanto thrive within its own world, but didn't endear it to the rest of the world. The reaction to Esperanto and the whole idea of invented languages became less gentle ribbing mixed with straightforward reporting, and more outright hostility mixed with no reporting. The excitement and